Girl was using the bathroom while her parents stood right in front of her. After finishing, the daughter tied up a full bag tightly and handed it to her father, who threw it outside the pit. Because the three had been trapped in the deep pit for over 2 months, they had to handle all bodily functions right there. And the culprit behind all this was their son. But this arrangement couldn't last forever, and eventually, the father would make a mistake. Gradually, the pit became filled with a terrible stench. Meanwhile, outside, their precious son was having the time of his life with his classmate. Only in the middle of the night would he control a drone to hover above the pit to check if his parents and sister were still alive. Seeing this, the father burst into curses, saying he had raised an ungrateful child. But Peter couldn't hear these insults at all. The next day, as he was saying goodbye to his classmate, Peter withdrew another $50,000 from the ATM and gave it to him. In his mind, since his classmate had kept him company for so long, he should pay him for his time. That's what adults would do. However, shortly after his classmate left, his mother's friend visited again. She was very confused about why she couldn't get in touch with Peter's mom. Feeling guilty, Peter couldn't give a proper answer. Seeing the boy stumbling over his words, the woman sensed something was wrong. She turned and left, then called the police. Little did she know, Peter had already planned for this. First, he locked all the doors, then hid upstairs, creating the impression that no one was home. After checking around, the police didn't find anything unusual. Meanwhile, in the pit in the middle of the forest, 3 unfortunate souls were barely hanging on, since Peter hadn't brought food for several days. The 3 were too hungry to have any strength left. In their weakened state, they had prepared for the worst. Time flew by, and Peter gradually grew tired of this lifestyle. One day, he suddenly decided to make dinner and send it down to his family in the pit. The 3 starving people didn't care about the taste. They just devoured it ravenously. At night, Peter slept alone in the massive mansion. At this moment, he finally realized that the adult world wasn't as fun as he had imagined. Feeling regretful, he went to the pit before dawn and looked at his family in their miserable state. Peter didn't know what to do. Suddenly, he had an idea. Soon after, the sleeping parents were awakened by a noise. Looking up, they were surprised to see a ladder slowly being lowered down. With this ladder, the 3 finally escaped from this nightmare pit. As they searched throughout the forest for Peter, they discovered a body floating in the swimming pool. The parents thought Peter had been overwhelmed with guilt and decided to end his life to atone, so they immediately pulled him out. Little did they know this was Peter's deliberate act, designed to lessen his parents' anger. In the end, the 3 were afraid Peter might do something foolish again, so they didn't blame him. Finally, the father brought in an excavator and completely filled in the dangerous pit that had caused so much trouble.